All right, we are live. Thank you so much for being here, and I cannot wait to share the immense amount of value today and show you kind of what your life could be like if you were debt free, completely 100%, house, cars, cards, everything. It's going to be awesome. The site is now live. I'm going to give everybody about 10 minutes to get in here, get situated, get some water, get some coffee, get some, a notebook for notes, make sure you download the PDF so that you can work through the workbook as well. I myself am grabbing a water. And since I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, I apologize in advance if you hear any swallowing or clearing of my throat or stuttering or anything like that. Talking for long periods of time dry out your voice, and I'm sure you can understand that. But I will try and keep it as professional and clean and pleasant to listen to as possible. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Again, don't forget to download the PDF so that you can follow along, fill in some blanks, maybe even take some notes and jot down your own numbers, kind of work out some stuff for yourself, just to get a little bit extra value. It's not a good sign. We're only like a minute or 2 minutes in, and I'm already clearing my throat. While we're waiting here, just so we're not sitting around doing absolutely nothing, and because I could sit here and just let you listen to some music, some nice smooth jazz for the next 10 minutes while we get settled. But I want to make sure that none of your time is wasted at all. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a first little nugget of value. I don't know if anybody on this webinar has heard of Grant Cardone. But he is one of the guys that I follow religiously. I subscribe to all of his things. I buy all of his books. I pay for his audios. I just study the guy. He is a master salesman, master business guy. He was bankrupt when he was in his 20s and is now a self-made millionaire. Absolutely phenomenal success story. Super impressed by him. But his network, it's called Whatever It Takes Network, which I just love that name. Whatever It Takes Network, they have an article that they just put out. I actually got an email update for it. It's 7 sentences that successful people never say. So success is defined differently by everybody, and I realize that. For some people it is a financial accumulation. For some people it's a power status, an economic, social status. For some it's just having a successful, or I can't use the word in the definition, obviously. That's grade school grammar. Some of them define success by by having good relationships, by having a good family life, a nice home life, a loving wife and kids, all that kind of stuff. Some of them define success by accomplishments, by different accolades and different things that they've been through in your life. But whatever success means for you, these are 7 sentences that successful people never say. And I'm just going to read this article. Success is not something that can be accomplished overnight. Again, no matter what your definition of success is, it takes a lot of hard work, time, and sheer dedication. Every successful leader, entrepreneur, or idealist has had their own unique journey as they strove for what they believed in and provided and proved to society that anyone can break free from the chains they think are holding them back. Although each of them had a different path, their destination was the same: success. There are many factors which tie these unsuccessful individuals together, one of them being how they grew and matured along the journey. Steve Seibold, author of How Rich People Think, interviewed more than 1,000 different millionaires over 3 decades to learn what led them to their success and their wealth. The answer was quite simple. Steve learned that it did not matter where they were born or even to whom. What really made these millionaires stand out was their mentality. I'm just going to take a break. Psychology in this world is absolutely everything, and we're going to talk about the mental capacity that you need to have to be able to get debt-free and stay debt-free, and even just have success in your financial future whatsoever. There's a very, very specific mindset and mentality that you have to have, and it's just really cool to be reading this article, and it says that their mentality was what stood out to make, is what made these millionaires stand out. All right, back to reading. The drive to reach their goals while letting nothing hold them back. This mindset led those individuals to wealth. Here are 7 sentences you will never hear a successful person say because they contradict that unstoppable attitude. Number 1, I hate my job. Or I hate this company. Or my boss is an idiot. Or I can't stand what I do. One highly admired quality in successful people is that they are never too opinionated about their job or workplace, irrespective of what they might be doing at any point in life. So, here's some of the negative elements that they kind of overcome. These negative elements do nothing but slow you down in your journey to achieve success. Instead of insulting a person or the job or the company, seek to resolve the issue with proper facts, tactics, and complete neutrality. That's an interesting thought. Number 2, that's not fair, or I deserve more, or I'm worth more than that. Your rival receives an award, appraisal, or recognition, and you got nothing while you're twice as dedicated and productive. This is a mistake this is a mistake successful people never make, which is referring to ranting and raving about injustices in life. Instead of whining and complaining, the secret of being able to move on is to be proactive about issues and not reactive. Causing a scene will only affect you negatively, because if you're being negative, you're going to attract negativity. If you think you were much more deserving, prove it by making a strong case and presenting it. Number 3, that's not how it's done here, or because it's always been done this way or that way. Innovation is a key characteristic of successful people. Take Steve Jobs, for instance. He was passionate about innovation, and such passion led to several amazing creations. One of them I'm holding in my hand. The other one I have sitting next to me. Another one is literally running the presentation that you're seeing right now. So I definitely think that he knew what he was doing. Number 4, that's not my job. There's a big rule which successful people follow. If you are truly successful, you will help others succeed as well. So nothing is off of the table. You can always do something extra, something beyond yourself if it improves the life or the quality of workspace for somebody else. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this webinar. This webinar is completely free for you. If you're watching this, you did not pay a dime to get all of the information that I'm about to give you, and that is not in my job description. Where I work and what I do for work does not require me to do does not require me to do this at all, okay? Number 5, that's impossible. Because you've heard it said before, if you put your mind to something, anything is possible, and that is absolutely true. Now, obviously there's laws of physics that we have to obey, but honestly, if you truly believe in yourself and you truly understand the power that you're capable of and the accomplishments that you're capable of, you are not going to let anything hold you back from reaching your full potential. Number 6, I could have, or I should have, or I might have been able to. Thinking back on the past is only going to hold you back from reaching forward to your future. Do not do it. The only thing, if you've ever, have you ever seen a race run where somebody was running backwards? No, you would never see that, because they don't need to know where they've been. They need to know where they're going. I actually posted a picture on Instagram recently that says, where you have been is less important than where you can go. And number 7, I have no choice. You always have a choice. Always have options. Explore those options. We are now live on this webinar. Welcome to Own It. a comprehensive webinar for living a debt-free life. I am so excited about what you're about to hear and what I have to share with you. I cannot tell you emphatically enough how much that this information can change your life. You know, there is actually the number one reason why people don't save more or do more fun things or have a better lifestyle for themselves is because of debt. And if they could only get out from under debt, they would, not only feel better, but they would spend their money better. They would do more things with their money. They would have a better experience financially. And that's totally true. And so that's why I've put this webinar together, is because I want, and I truly believe, that more people can experience a debt-free life, including you. I know for a fact that you can do it. I've seen mountains and mountains of debt come down to absolute ruins when we've put together a systematic plan that was followed, and that was respected, and that where the person made a commitment and stuck to that commitment with discipline and accountability and made that debt go away. So that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what you're going to figure out today, is how to make that real for you and bring that kind of value into your life and into your family's life, and give you guys the financial future you truly deserve. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. I have not done a lot of webinars, so if this is rough, if this is, not quite smooth and professional and seamless, please forgive me. But I do know for a fact that the value contained in this webinar has the power to change your life if you let it. Thank you so much. I hope this serves you. I hope this provides you value in an invaluable way. And I hope that you really walk away from here saying, holy cow, either I didn't know all of that information that I just got, or I hadn't thought about it in that way before. I just hope that this kind of really breaks out your thinking a little bit as far as getting out of debt. Please make sure to download the PDF. I will give you about a minute or so to download the PDF, and make sure you're flipping through it. Also, that PDF is not just an outline of what we're going to be doing, but it's also a workbook. I don't want to just sit here and tell you how things are going to be, or tell you how things work, or anything like that. I want to work alongside of you and kind of have you come in and start to not just witness the information that you're going to see here, but also to actually start thinking in a way that applies your numbers and your life and your family and your goals and dreams to the information that you're going to get. Because when you can start incorporating yourself and your ideas into the information, into new information, it can start to take root. It's almost like planting seeds. And once those seeds get a little bit of water and start to germinate, then you start to grow some roots into the ground, and you can then start springing forth with new life and new ideas and new goals and dreams, because you're starting to think differently. You're starting to think positively about the new information that's coming in. And that's what I want for you. I want you to go from loaning out different parts of your life and different portions of your paycheck and giving some of yourself away, your pride, your money, your everything. And I want you to come to a point where you can truly own it. Own your life. Own your position. Own your possessions. Everything that you can imagine about being debt-free, it's even better than that. It's even better than that. And if you Googled images of debt-free, you're going to see a lot of happy faces, a lot of jumping in the air, and a lot of laughing, and just very emphatic photos. And even though pictures are worth 1,000 words, even those do not do it justice. So I hope you have your PDFs. I hope you're ready to get started into this. Thank you again for being here. Let's get started. My name is Jordan Wilkins. This is a picture of me. I am the head coach of the Fortune Maker team and author of The Fortune Maker. Keep an eye out for that book. It will be available as an ebook. It'll be available as a printed hard copy book or a physical copy. There will be a link sent out to everybody who's subscribed to our mailing list, and where they will be able to actually purchase this book, or and even as some of the packages, some packages that we're going to put together, you will actually get this book for free for certain things. So that's me. Just to give you a little bit background on myself, since some of you might not know anything about me or who I am or where I am or why I should even be talking about this. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. When I was raised there in the Lawrenceville, Grayson area, and raised by a wonderful family. But we were born in the middle class. And one thing I noticed about the middle class is nobody is rich. Everybody works really, really hard, but nobody really is what you would label rich or extremely wealthy, right? So what I did is, as I was growing up, as I was going to college, I knew that I wanted to help people. That's just something that I inherently knew, that I wanted to help people. In fact, every single career path that I've even considered has been all about helping people, helping others, and serving others. First, I wanted to join the military. Second, I wanted to be a surgeon. Third, I wanted to be an attorney. And then I actually decided to be a financial professional, a financial consultant and coach. And that's kind of what I've done. That's kind of the path that I've chosen, because I found out that I was really good at it, number one. And number two, I don't know that there's anything more in life that impacts everything else that you do other than how you handle your finances. How you handle your finances will affect how you think, how you treat others, how you respond to others. It'll affect how you treat property. It will affect how you feel about your job. It'll affect everything. I mean, now that being said, I don't think money is everything or has to do with everything. I think your family life and your spiritual life is a lot better. But obviously, we are here to talk about money, so that's what we're going to do. And anyway, I got into this and have helped tons and tons of families not only get out of debt, but just all around, all-encompassing financial realm. Have just helped tons of families. And as far as specifically getting out of debt, I'm going to show you a couple of details of what my team and our office, along with a couple other teams that we work alongside, have actually been able to do and be able to accomplish. And we really want you to join us. We really want you to join them, and not just to be another number, but really to be another portion of a bigger success story, to be something bigger than just what you're looking at right now, what you're feeling, because others have been there and felt that before. And it's not, you don't have to be stuck there forever. You can actually step out beyond the limits that you feel now and experience something incredible about your life. For the last 4 years, I've been working in finance after starting a couple other businesses, and just realizing that it's not that the businesses failed, it's more that I just decided that those weren't the directions I wanted to go. And finance has been one that I just have stuck with. I really enjoy it. I really like, it's almost like a puzzle, like a game, and if you can figure out the rules of the game and get good at it, then you really start to develop a serious passion for it. And it's kind of like, I treat it like sports, which is why I call myself a head coach, and why I call the Fortune Maker team a team, because we are bigger than something than just ourselves. And I believe that we can make an impact as a whole more than I could make an impact as an individual. And so that's kind of a little bit more about me, but let's go ahead and kind of get a little bit into what we're going to be talking about, and kind of introduce you into some of the ideas, that we'll actually be discussing. I'm just flipping through a page here. Okay, here we go. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to take away, because let's be honest, if we cannot take something away, if we're not going to get any value out of an action or an activity or a venture, then there's really no reason to be there at all. At least that's my idea. If I'm not going to get results going to the gym 5 times a week, then I'm not going to go to the gym 5 times a week. If I'm not going to get results by, or even more than that, what if you're going to take away something that you don't want? You know, if I eat an entire pie every single night, I'm going to take away a lot of, well, number one, a lot of years off my life from all the sugar and everything that I'm going to ingest, but I'm also going to take away a lot of weight. You know, I'm going to walk away a lot heavier. I'm going to just not feel as good because I'm eating like not really the best, you know, category of foods. But that all being said, you know, the point is if we can take away something valuable, and we can take away something that's going to improve our lives, and we can take away something that not only supports but even encourages and improves something that we believe in, that we can fight for, like giving our families the lifestyle they deserve, letting our wives be able to, or our kids or our husbands be able to enjoy the things that they want to enjoy, to be able to pursue the dreams that they want to pursue without having to worry about, oh, we can't do that because we owe this much, to be able to have the lifestyle where you're not, you know, having to crunch numbers to figure out how you're going to pay your bills, to where you're not going to, you don't have to be the kind of lifestyle where you don't have to be, you know, figuring out where you can go on vacation or how much you can spend, or maybe being on vacation and saying, well, we went out to eat at that restaurant last night, so tonight we should probably just eat sandwiches at home because, you know, that's a little too expensive. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a place for responsible decisions when you're on vacation. Like maybe you did go to a really nice dinner and so you want to play it low key. But the fact is, why wouldn't you rather have the choice? You know, wouldn't you rather, how much better would you feel if you went out to a really nice dinner one night and the next night you could go out to another really nice dinner, or you could stay in and have it low key, and it doesn't really matter which one? Wouldn't that feel a lot more free, a lot more like a lot more just comforting? And I don't know about you, but I just feel like this thing like come out of my stomach when I say stuff like that. Like we can, or we can do this. It really doesn't matter. Whatever kind of that leaves it up to my attitude and how I'm feeling about the day. Like maybe I do just want a low-key day with my family, or maybe I do want to go and have another really nice dinner because the steak that I had last night was amazing. The lobster tail that I had was fantastic. You know, that bottle of wine that we had was exquisite, right? So there's a lot of different things like, you know, that we can kind of get into. But let's talk about, but anyway, imagine if that lifestyle, where I was going with that was, if that lifestyle is worth fighting for and we're sacrificing something for, and what you're going to take away from this exact webinar is going to help you get to that type of a lifestyle and have that type of a freedom and be able to offer those types of things to your family and the ones you love, then we probably have a reason to be here, and we can stick around, and we can actually not only just be attentive, but we can be engaged, right? And that's why I've also printed out this PDF, is so that you can take notes and fill it out along the way and actually keep it with you and work through it day in and day out if you want to, all right? So here's what you're gonna take away. First of all, you're gonna learn how to get out and stay out of debt. There's a few ways to get out of debt, and some of those ways are better than others, more harmful than others, or just slower than others, okay? So you're gonna learn about all the ways to get out of debt, and you're gonna learn about the best way to get out of debt, okay? You'll learn how to make a plan for debt freedom, right? So not just learn the details of how to do it, but you'll also learn how to put it into a plan that can be followed day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, until you have no more debt, okay? You'll build your confidence by implementing an accountability and reward strategy. So accountability on its own kind of sucks, right? Because you always feel like you're being judged, you're being pushed, you have to do something that you don't want to do because, you know, somebody else is going to ask you about it, and you don't want to be embarrassed about it. But to incorporate a reward strategy along with that helps you be a little bit more excited. You'll make a commitment to your goals, a strong commitment. You're going to learn what your money, and this is my favorite one, you will learn what your money can do for you once your debt payments are completely eliminated. And when you see those possibilities, I promise you, you are going to get so incredibly excited. It'll be amazing. Before we get into how we get out of debt, though, I think it's really important that we understand how you get into debt so that we can know what to avoid. Okay? There's a few reasons, and they're not just I'm gonna give you the physical actions that get us into debt, but before I do that, I'm gonna give you the psychological roots to why we make those actions that get us into debt. Because if we can take care of the roots, we can change how that tree grows and which direction it leans in, okay? So how do we get into debt? First of all, it's a straight up lack of discipline. Now that might be, you might be kind of hurt by that. That might be a little bit of some strong language, but to be honest, it comes down to a lack of discipline, at least partially. Right? Because if we were more disciplined, we wouldn't have gotten into debt in the first place. And that seems kind of like almost like circular reasoning, right? Which is, can be argued that that's a little bit of a fallible logic. But a lack of discipline leads us to buy things on credit rather than saving for an item. Credit cards have done nothing but fueled this I need it now mentality, this I'm craving it now mentality. I wish I would have actually put a video in here. There's a little skit from SNL with Steve Martin and I forget the lady's name. I forget her name now. But they're talking about not being able to make their bills and figuring out how to pay off their credit cards. And the guy comes in with a book on how not to get into debt. And the whole back and forth is Steve Martin is saying, well, what if we don't have the money? Then can we buy it? And the guy says, no, you can't. You can't buy it if you don't have the money. Well, what if we save up for it and then we have the cash? Then can we buy it? Yes, you can buy it. But what if we don't have the cash? No, you can't buy it. It's a funny back and forth. Maybe Google it, Steve Martin, credit card debt SNL. I don't know if you'll find it that way, but that's the only way I can think of to find it. Really funny, kind of adds a little bit of humor. I wish I would have put that in here, but I did not think about it until literally just now. So anyway, a lack of discipline, buying on credit rather than saving up for an item and paying cash. And then it also causes you to accumulate more recurring expenses than you can afford, right? How much is your cell phone bill? Well, maybe not much by itself, but when you add cell phone bill to DirecTV bill, to Netflix bill, to internet bill, to phone bill, to water and just your basic utilities, to I don't know what else you have. My recurring expenses are very low. I make a point to keep them low for this reason. But whatever other recurring expenses there are, I'm sure you can list a couple and maybe even write them down on that worksheet right there. And kind of start to add up what your recurring expenses are and figure out like, hey, is that something, what could I be doing with that extra money instead? Like, do I really need cable and Netflix? Do I really need all of these different services when I have the internet and I can, literally find everything I wanted at any time that I wanted? Right? I don't know, just some things to think about. Comes down to a lack of responsibility. Again, some more strong language, but it's something that we have to talk about. We don't need to be coddled when we're talking about getting out of debt, right? In fact, coddling our decisions is probably what helped get us into debt and justify those reasons for getting into debt in the first place. So I apologize if you're a little bit offended, but then again, I kind of don't, right? Because I want you to start thinking this way. I want you to start thinking at a higher level so that you can get yourself and your family into a place you deserve to be in, right? You start spending more than you earn, right? If you earn $10 and spend $9, you're happy. If you make 10 and you spend 11, you're miserable, right? You can't stand yourself. You're upset. You're afraid to even sign into your bank account because you don't even want to know what the balance is, right? Not having an emergency fund is also a lack of responsibility, and it's a huge, huge issue. We'll talk about that in just a couple seconds. And also a lack of accountability. You got to have a coach. You have to have somebody that will encourage you and work alongside you and train you. Okay, so that's how you get into debt: lacking discipline, lacking responsibility, and lacking accountability. What is the impact of debt, right? And you're looking at this guy, and he's got all kinds of problems going on. He's got some of the words that are chopped off are loss, debt, bankruptcy. Then you got horror, worry, stress, trouble, pain, headache. No kidding, right? You have denial and humiliation, right? You deny how bad your debt might be because you're humiliated. It hurts your pride. It takes away some of that. As especially if there's any men on this, and I'm sure there is, if there's men on this call, we have like that provider mentality, and when we start to sink and we're digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper, we get a little shaken by that. Our pride does. Our pride gets chipped away little by little, and we're humiliated. We don't want to tell people about it. Sometimes we even have hard times talking to our wives or our spouses or significant others or whoever. We have trouble like sharing some of that information because it hurts to share, and we just don't like it, right? And I'm sure it's the same for women. I just can't talk as a woman because I ain't one. But it also comes down to stress. And stress, I gotta spend at least a minute on stress, because if you look up the number one cause of death in America, it's heart disease. And one of the main contributing factors of heart disease is stress. Stress makes you less productive at work. Stress makes you less communicative in your relationships. So it starts to put a strain on your relationships. Stress causes a strain, right? It keeps you from being engaging. You're kind of inside of your head all the time. You're talking to yourself, right? And so therefore you can't really communicate and let other people in, because you're already in there stirring things up, or having things stirred up if some of the stress is a little external, right? Stress is a contributing factor to heart disease, which is the leading cause of death in America. But stress also causes a lot of divorce because of those issues because of those effects that it has on relationships, like I just mentioned, right? And how much of that stress is possibly caused by money problems, right? That's something to think about, and that's another reason why we're here. Right? Is to talk about eliminating some stress, eliminating some of that humiliation, building back up your pride and confidence, right? Fear. This can be fear of loss. This can be fear of people finding out. This could be fear of not having any freedom, never being able to retire, not being able to afford your bills, not being fear can really come down to fear of everything. Okay, and fear is a paralytic. The two little questions, and I actually have an entire speech on this. It's called "What Even," and it's all about how fear just paralyzes us and keeps us from reaching our true potential, and keeps us from. It starts internally, and then it grows outwardly. So our fear causes us to change our beliefs about ourselves, our abilities, our potential, our possibilities, and how people perceive us. And because that all starts to kind of take root and grow inside of ourselves, we start to limit how much we try in our actions and in our endeavors and in our attempts, right? So fear can really, really tear us apart. Loss of property. Okay, so that's another that I mentioned that with fear, but it could actually, now fear is imagined. Fear is an imagined emotional response to something that has not happened yet. So fear is imaginary emotion, it does definitely, it makes itself very real in our lives. But what if the loss of property started as a fear, and then the repo men show up to take the car and the TV or the house? Right? That can be a very, very devastating thing. Depression. When we start to stand inside of ourselves, we lose a lot of our self-confidence and our self-worth. Right? If we don't have Sometimes, unfortunately, our net worth is directly proportionate to our self-worth, okay? And that gets really dangerous really quick. Anger. We start to treat people, we start to grow our frustration, and that turns into anger and bitterness and resentment. Health complications, right? So all of this added up, you could definitely see where it would take a toll on you physically, whether it makes you more tired and less productive, whether it makes you you don't communicate as well or as often, or when you do, you're snapping at people and, being confrontational. Sorry, that was the word I was thinking of. Being confrontational. It also, like we said, with stress, it can lead to heart disease and actually your death, right? This debt is a huge, huge weight that we carry a lot of times. And it's an epidemic in America, okay? Check this out. The average credit card debt on households that have balances on their cards is $15,000, over $15,000. The average mortgage debt is over $155,000. And the average student debt is double the credit card debt at over $32,000. You add all of that up and you've got about 200 grand of just debt that you owe out of your paychecks before you even get to touch it, right? That can be very, very difficult to understand and to really get free of. Right? And especially if you're looking at a balance of $200,000, it can almost seem like that's impossible. It's very understandable why somebody would lose hope in this kind of a situation. But the important part is that you can have hope again. You can have a future again. You can get out of that $200,000 worth of debt. I promise you. The unfortunate news is, though, that that's not all the issues that we're facing. More than half Americans have no emergency fund. So when you're in debt, you have very little cash on hand to put aside. When you have very little cash on hand to put aside, you don't build an emergency fund. When you don't have an emergency fund and something happens, like you have to go to the emergency room or your car breaks down and you have to fix it, what do you end up using to pay for it? A credit card. And you repeat this entire cycle over again and keep it going. It's a very, very dangerous and deadly cycle. Bankruptcies in 2014 reached over 930,000 filings. That is just staggering to me. The fact that it's still that high over the last several years. Now it's lower than it has been over the last couple of years, but that is still an incredibly high number, almost 1 million separate filings for bankruptcy. Most families with debt end up paying equal to, if not more than, they originally owed just in pure interest. And that interest typically amounts to tens of thousands of dollars. So if there was a way to get you out of debt faster and save you that tens of thousands of dollars in interest, is that something that you would be interested in? Absolutely. I'd be surprised if you said no. So 3 ways to get out of debt. There are only 3 ways to get out of debt, no matter how you spin it. It comes down to these 3 basic ways. Either you increase your monthly payments, whether that means you pay more often or you pay more, like a larger amount. That is one way, okay? But that means more money out of your pocket every single month. Some people aren't in a position to do that. So maybe that's not for you. Number 2, Number 2, you settle debt accounts, which hurts your credit, which costs money right up front out of pocket, right? But sometimes that can be a better alternative than to staying in debt longer because it immediately reduces your debt to income ratio, which can be nice, right? But it does hurt your credit. There's some sacrifices there. So personally, I think these 2 are the backup ways. I think there's a better way. It's stacking your debts strategically. What this does is it allows you to take 0 extra money out of your pocket, and it doesn't force you to pay anything up front, and it doesn't hurt your credit to do this. In fact, by paying off your debts this way, you could improve your credit score dramatically. Okay, so this is something that I really, really like, and this is exactly what we're going to talk about in this webinar. I'm going to show you all the details on stacking your debts and making sure that that is something that gives you, or that is something that can become a reality in your life, and I'm going to help you with that. Okay? First things first, though, before we get into those details, we got to talk about some goal setting, right? Because if anything, if we don't have an emotional and a rational, right? So emotion and rationality in the foundation of what we're trying to do, of what we're trying to accomplish, then we're going to lose ground really fast. Not only lose ground, but we're going to run out of steam. We're not going to, if we're not fighting for the top prize, if we're not fighting for everything that I mentioned before about lifestyle and having that kind of freedom with your family, if that does not ring an emotional bell for you, and it also doesn't make sense for you, then you're not going to finish your task. Right? And that's going to come down to a little bit of personal honesty and some introspection. But how do we set goals? Okay. There's a right way and a wrong way to do almost everything. Not everything, because not everything's black and white, but there is definitely a right and a wrong way to set goals. And even in the right ways, there's a better way and a best way to do it. Okay. Number one, you have to make your goals specific. Okay. Goals that lack clarity, lack focus, and determination. So what this is saying, I would like to be out of debt, right? I would like to be out of debt sometime in my life, right? There's no clarity, there's no focus, there's no determination there, there's no passion. It's just kind of like, well, if it happens, and that'll be nice, right? You're never going to follow through on that goal because you're not letting it tug those heartstrings. You're not letting it move your mind forward. You're not seeing yourself in that position, and therefore you can't run forward at it full pace, right? You're always going to be kind of holding yourself back. Number two, has to be measurable. Goals that can't be measured cannot be meaningful or inspiring. So what do I mean by that? That's what I'm talking about as far as, okay, I would like to be able to, afford the nice vacation and not really have to worry about finances. I would like to, not have to crunch numbers to pay my bills, just know that it's going out every month and we're good. I would like to be able to send my wife out on a spa day because we don't have, we can afford to spend that money because it's extra in our pockets because our debt payments are gone. Stuff like that. The measurable, specific, the almost reward type of stuff that you can gain from doing this goal. Okay, so measurable, so that it's meaningful and inspiring. Attainable. Goals that are too far out of reach cause self-doubt and frustration. And when you get frustrated and you start doubting yourself, just like I talked about fear, you start limiting your abilities, okay, your physical abilities. So what does that mean? What is an unattainable goal? An unattainable goal would be like, I would like to wipe out my $200,000 of debt by December 2015, right? So right now right now this webinar is being filmed in the last day of April. So we're moving into May, and we have 6 months left in the year, and wiping out $200,000 of debt in 6 months is just not realistic and not attainable. Okay, so by the time you got to the end of August, and you realize you only have a couple of months left, and you still have $150,000 of debt to pay off, you're going to start getting frustrated. You're going to start doubting whether or not you could actually hit that goal, and you're going to stop trying. They have to be relevant. Goals that aren't personal, lack passion, and can't motivate us. Okay, so me giving you the details to debt stacking is not going to be enough to help you get out of debt. It's going to come down to you taking your numbers and plugging them into a system that gives you these results. Okay, and I'm going to show you ways to do that. Obviously, I'm not going to just feed you a bunch of stuff and then leave you hanging. But we'll definitely talk about how to make it relevant. But when we make it personal, it builds passion, it moves us emotionally, and we can move ourselves physically if we're motivated mentally and psychologically. And finally, there has to be a time frame. Goals that aren't bound by time are nothing more than wishes, right? It's just like that first goal that we said, this lacking clarity and focus makes it hard to have determination, right? So I would like to be out of debt someday. There's no timeline there. Now we have to, obviously with the attainable side, we have to understand that there's a balance to be had between realistic and motivating. Okay, so a time frame, and that goes back to I would like to wipe out my $200,000 of debt within 6 months. It's just not gonna happen. Okay, so but saying I would like to wipe out all $200,000 of debt so that I can be able to provide these certain lifestyle objects for my family within a reasonable amount of time. And I would like to say that, if I'm on a 30-year mortgage and I've been paying it for 10 years, now I have 20 years roughly left on my mortgage. So I would realistically like to be completely debt-free, not just the mortgage, but everything else as well. Within that 20 years, and maybe even within the next 15, if that's possible for me. So that, and here's my numbers. This is how I'm going to do it, and this is how I understand how to do that. That is setting a goal, and that's something that you can share with other people to help build your commitment and build your confidence, and have people to keep you accountable, like your family, your loved ones, or a financial coach like myself or my team, and be able to really attack that. And we will stay with you and people who will stay with you the entire time to make sure that you're accomplishing your goals. Now, if you take the first letter of every single one of those words, you get SMART. These are SMART goals. And if you start making goals like this, you're going to get smart and you're going to accomplish SMART goals. Okay? So make sure that this is how you set your goals from now on. Next, we want to talk about accountability. I've mentioned it several times. You've got to have a coach. Okay? When you have a coach, it helps enforce your commitment. Okay? Think about when you have a gym membership. Okay? You go to the gym and you're working out by yourself. Maybe you see some results, maybe you don't. Maybe you get frustrated because you're not seeing results as fast as you'd like to, so you quit, right? I'm sure that hasn't happened to anybody on this webinar, but I'll tell you right now, it's happened to me. I have had a gym membership that I don't have anymore, and I know people who have had a gym membership that they didn't use for years and still had it. If they had a personal trainer, do you think that they would show up? Do you think that they would not just show up, but show up more often? Do you think that they would work harder and maybe even see better results because they stuck with it? Absolutely. Absolutely, because that accountability helps. It helps build trust and confidence. If you think about relationships and for my parents growing up and I myself, I like to have accountability partners that can ask me some hard questions to make sure that I'm doing the right things inside of my relationship. My parents did that, and not only that, but I like to be able to have an accountability partner for my finances too. And for me personally, mine is my dad. My dad asked me questions about what I spent this month, what I'm making this month, did my expenses exceed my gains? Did my investments do well? Like all of these different things. He makes me look at everything so that I can be aware. And because of that, we have a better trust and confidence. But not only that, my relationships have better trust and confidence because I've been open and honest with things, about things with them. And they appreciate that, and they feel valued by that, and I feel valued by that, and it makes us all just have a very closer knit excuse me, closer knit relationship, right? It builds that strength. It increases drive and motivation. Let's talk about diets. How many times have you heard somebody, usually it happens January 1st, right? The whole New Year's resolution things. I'm going to not drink anymore. I'm going to eat less. I'm not going to eat any sweets. I'm going to cut salt out of my diet. I'm going to do all this kind of stuff. And like a week later, they're like, oh, hey man, you want to go out to the bar? Or hey, that cake looks really good that you just made. You mind if I have a slice? Or they start doing cheat days, right? You've seen people make cheat days in their diets. Well, then they start making like cheat days like 2 or 3 times a week instead of just once a week or once every other week or something. So if they had accountability partners though, if they had somebody who was actually doing the diet with them, who is alongside them, who is encouraging them, who is constantly saying, hey, look, I feel your pain. I know that this sucks right now, but think about what it's going to be worth when it's all done and over with, right? The pain that you feel now is nothing compared to the reward that's going to come, right? If you had somebody alongside you helping you out this whole way, that would help increase your drive and motivation, and you could stick to the diet longer. You could stick to the workout longer, right? And if you have those kind of accountability relationships, then fantastic. That's great. You're ahead of the game. But if you don't, you have got to. You have to. It's imperative that you have a coach. It also increases responsibility. It makes you step up to the next level. It makes you provide in a way that you haven't provided before. It makes you you start thinking ahead. You start future pacing yourself. And when you can start future pacing yourself and seeing yourself in a position before it even happens, you can anticipate the game and you can be ahead of the curve. Right? But increasing responsibility is saying, okay, before I even do this, before I even get presented with an opportunity to do X or Y or Z, that's going to hurt me and hurt my family down the road. Maybe not immediately, but it's going to put us in debt longer, or it's going to increase our interest payments, or it's going to increase our monthly payments, or whatever. Maybe I say, before that even happens, I'm already deciding that is not going to be an option for me. So that when I'm faced with it, when I'm confronted with that choice, the choice is already made. I don't even have to think about it or be tempted about it. It's just not something I'm going to do. It increases responsibility when you have accountability. You need a coach. If there was one thing that I said is going to be the best thing for you in your financial journey, it's having a coach. Having a coach, having accountability, having somebody who believes in you, who knows that you can do this, who knows that you can achieve everything that you want to achieve in life if only you stick with it and you incorporate a system that you work over and over again for an extended period of time. You will get that success that you're looking for. And that's true of whether it's a gym. You want to lose 10, 15 pounds, get an accountability partner, get a coach, get somebody that can work out with you. You want to get on a diet, and then go and get somebody who can go on the diet with you, who's willing to sacrifice something with you, to go through and feel what you're feeling, and who has felt, or maybe somebody who's successfully done a workout program or a diet, somebody who's felt the pain that you're feeling before, so that they can cheer you on and be your number one fan. Somebody who can ask you some of the hard questions and keep you thinking about the bigger picture and not just the immediate, what can I get out of this right now thing. Okay, you gotta have a coach. That is huge. But it all comes down to discipline. And it's the first thing that I talked about when we touched on the ways we get into debt. Discipline. What is worth fighting for? What is your why? What motivates you? What gets you emotionally involved and physically agitated? Not in a negative way, but like anxious, like where you got to do something to make sure that this happens. What is worth fighting for to you? What is worth sticking to your guns on? Right? What's worth being disciplined for? Be sincere in this motivation. What is it that really does move you? Don't say something that you think other people want to hear, because that's not going to move you. What moves them doesn't move you. And you can be honest with yourself about that. If providing for your family doesn't necessarily move you, that doesn't have to be a negative thing. If the thing that really does motivate you is being the one that provides the lifestyle that they have and doing it in a quality and respectable way. Maybe that's how you provide for your family, but it's more about what you accomplished. Maybe that's what motivates you. Just be honest with yourself. Be sincere in your motivation. Being honest with yourself and your family is going to help you remain disciplined. If you can tell people and physically sit down with them and say, imagine this conversation. Maybe you type up a debt plan, and because of the way that you're going to get out of debt, you've got to sacrifice a couple of things. Maybe you got to cancel the cable bill for 6 months. Maybe you got to downgrade the Netflix package you have. Maybe you have to get less data on your phone plan so that it becomes a little bit more affordable and puts some extra money back in your pocket that you can move around in some different areas to help you get out of debt faster. But what if you went to your family and sat down with them and said, listen, we have this thing that's called debt. And because of debt, we are not what you would call financially free. There are a lot of things that I would love to be able to do with this family and do for this family. And because I want to do that so badly, and because I love you guys so much, we're going to be making these small sacrifices. But once we make those small sacrifices and we accomplish what we're going for, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do something nice. Maybe that's, and make that reward be whatever motivates your family. Maybe it's a vacation down at Disney. Maybe it's a trip away from the kids. Maybe it's snow skiing. Maybe it's that honeymoon that you never got to take because you racked up too much debt too quickly. Maybe whatever it is for you, be honest with them about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what's going to happen when you accomplish it. Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, after going through all of those things, how committed are you to changing your family's financial future? And here's another opportunity where you have to be sincere and you have to be honest with yourself. Because no coach can help you if they're more committed to your success than you are. If they're more committed to your family and their future than you are. Right? More hard talk, more stuff to think about. So, let's talk about some people just like you. All right, my team, the Fortune Maker team, and along with there's 2 other teams in our office. There's actually 3. There's a new one that just came in. I can't remember who they are right now. They're literally brand new. But my team, my team, the Fortune Maker team, along with my coworker Rob's team, the Financial Freedom Fighters, along with the team NOSA, and my other friend Chris's team, the No One Stands Alone team, we have helped thousands of families. We've typed up thousands of game plans for families just like yours. We've done this so many times, and it's just been so awesome to be a part of. To be a part of this movement, this crusade, this mission. This is the reason why we wake up, is to help people financially and help people better their lives and live a better quality of life. Okay? Thousands of game plans typed up for families like yours. Over $200 million in projected interest payments saved and counting. Every family that we work with adds to that number and grows it and grows it and grows it. And it's honestly, it's an impressive number. And it's not because we want you to be impressed. It's that we want you to know that other people just like you are doing this. They're actually seeing the benefits. They're actually moving from hopeless to hopeful, from frustrated to fantastic, from horrified and scared to happy and excited. Happy clients who are now able to save for their future and have a comfortable retirement. People who thought that they would never be able to retire in their entire life. People thinking that they would have to work until they die. Right? And just to clarify on what retirement we're going to touch on in a different webinar, but retirement is kind of like success. It means something a little different for everybody. Retirement doesn't have to mean that you stop working and you never work again. It just means that you don't have to work to pay your bills anymore. You've got enough generating and income and monthly income on its own where you could not work if you didn't want to anymore, and you'd be okay for the rest of your life. That's what reaching retirement means. All right. So happy clients who are now able to save for their future and have a comfortable retirement, operating their life without fear, but with hope and excitement. Right? How would that feel for you? How would you like to be, hopeful and excited, confident of your future, confident of your retirement, confident that you were going to pass on the knowledge that you're going to learn to your kids, and so that they could apply it to their lives. Maybe you feel like it's too late for you. I can almost assure you, I can all but guarantee you that it's not. But how valuable would it be to be, maybe you can't really pass down a huge inheritance like you think you should to your kids. Maybe you pass down this knowledge so that they can build a fortune, right? An account of their own, an estate of their own. Maybe that's what you can leave to them, and I promise you that knowledge is going to serve them, and they're going to look back at it, and they're going to thank you and thank you and thank you and thank you over and over and over again. All right? We finally made it, right? And they have too. They're owning it. They're owning it. But how are they owning it, and how do they have confidence, and how do they have hope and excitement? My friends, it is time to get into the debt stacking solution. The whole reason why we're here, to show you the numbers and the magic of what the debt stacking solution is. All right? To get started, everybody has monthly bills. Okay? Everybody. They have monthly bills, and they have balances on those bills. Those balances, because there's a whole balance, there's also an interest rate. Right? Because of the balance and the interest rate together decides what their minimum required payments are. Some people pay the minimum payment, and some people pay extra, and that determines their actual payments. The amount of actual payment that they make versus their balance and their interest rate determines what their projected payoff date is, and depending on how long it takes them to pay that off determines what their projected interest they're going to pay. Okay, so let's look into this. And there's going to be a lot of numbers on this screen, but really try and bear with me. This is very important. And there's only going to be a couple of blanks on this page because I do want you to follow this. I don't want you to be writing and miss something. So here we go. Let's say that they have a Best Buy credit card. All right, I used to work at Best Buy, so this is kind of my little attack against them, I guess. Not really. I love Best Buy. I buy everything from there. Actually bought the whole system that I'm running this on from them. But let's say they have a current balance of $1,300, $1,370, and that interest rate on that credit card is 22.6. All right. Per month, their minimum required payments is $28. Right? That's all they have to pay per month on that credit card. But instead of paying $28, they're paying $100 a month. Now, even if they're paying $100 a month on $1,300, which is 13 months, because the interest rate is so high at 22.6, they're actually going to pay it off in 17 months, and they're going to pay, and they're going to actually pay an additional $229 in interest. Okay? We go on and so forth. Now they have a Sears credit card. Same exact deal. Their minimum required payment is $50. Their actual payment is $100, but they're still not going to pay it off for another 23 months. And they're going to pay an additional interest of $353. The Visa card, the Toyota, the Discover card, the GMAC, the MasterCard, and the mortgage. Okay? These are all of their debts, everything. Everything that they don't fully own yet. All right? Their total debt is $235,000, very close to the example we saw earlier in the national averages, right? Now, what I like to point out is there is such thing as a weighted average interest rate. And a lot of people look at me like, what? And you might even be sitting there like, I don't even know what the heck that means. I haven't even heard of that before. We have software that tells us what your weighted average interest rate is. So it decides what all your interest rates are and how it will affect your total balance over the time that you're paying off the debt. Okay, but that's not what we want to focus on right now. Right now, we want to focus on those minimum required payments. Almost $2,400, $2,361 per month going out. All right. Now, this family, this couple, and let's just imagine that it's you. Okay, let's say it's you or someone you love. Imagine your brother, or your sister, or your mom, or your dad, or your cousin, your uncle, your aunt, whoever you need to make it, to make it real. Because these aren't just cold numbers. This is happening, right? This is what a lot of people, more people than you would imagine, are in this exact situation right here, right? So they're paying $2,300 a month, or they're required to pay $2,300 a month. They're actually paying about $360 more than that, okay? They're paying $2,700 a month instead. So ask yourself this: if you were required to pay $2,300 a month and you actually paid $2,700 a month, how would you be feeling about how you were doing on your debt? You'd probably be feeling pretty decent, okay? Because not only are you not having to pay your minimum balance, but you can actually afford to pay more than your minimum balance. And you have friends, and they may not admit it, they may not say it, but you know that you have friends that aren't even making their minimum payments, and here you are making more than your minimum payment. So you're probably feeling pretty decent. But even though you're paying almost $360 more on your monthly payments than the minimum required amount, it's still going to take you about 24 years to get out of debt. Not only that, but you've noticed you're going to pay about $160,000 of interest. Pure interest. Now how do you feel? Even though you're paying $360 more than you have to. Probably not feeling pretty well. Probably feeling a little bit like, oh crap. Maybe starting to let that hopelessness creep in. It would be understandable. If this is all I looked at, that would make me feel like crap. And I'm sure that there's somebody on here who it makes them feel like crap too. I'm sure it is. Okay? But there is a solution. Debt stacking. Okay? So let's take this and let's stack it. What our software does and what we do when we type up a plan is it rearranges all of the debts to be able to stack them in the most effective way that will get them out of debt the quickest and save them the most amount of interest at the same time. Okay? So, let me ask you a couple of questions before I get into all of the details of debt stacking. Number one, this family, or you, or your parents, or your brother and sister, or whoever, they were doing what I like to call the shotgun method. They take a little bit of money and spread it out a bunch of different places, right? So instead of putting all 360 on one of the cards, they spread the 360 over several of the cards, like the Best Buy, the Sears, the Visa, the Toyota, the Discover card, and the MasterCard as well. Okay, they paid extra on a bunch of different little ones, thinking that that was going to get them ahead. But I would like to let you think of, most of the time, we don't get out of debt, especially a significant amount of debt like this. If you have over $200,000 of debt, you're not getting out of that super quickly. Okay, that's not a short range game, and a shotgun is a short range weapon. You need a long range weapon to take care of your short range game. You need some massive firepower, a 50 caliber sniper rifle, if you will, to take out these debts one at a time, pick them clean off. So what we do is we take the extra amount of $359. Okay, the minimum payment, if you're looking at the bottom graph, your monthly bill is your Best Buy card. You still got all your debts, okay? That minimum payment that you were required to make was $28. Instead of paying $100 though, which is just an extra, 72, instead of paying an extra $72 on that, we're gonna actually take the whole $359 and put it on top of that so that the new payment is $387. Now, we're only moving the extra money that was going on all of those debts. You are still paying the minimum payments of all of the other cards at this time, okay? You're just taking the extra amount and putting it down on the top card first, okay? That brings your new payment to $387, okay? And paying $387 on that $1,370 when your minimum payment was only $28, that pays it off in 4 months, and you save $168 on interest. instead of the 17 like you saw up top. But now, if you paid off the Best Buy card completely in 4 months, then in month 5, what is available to use? Exactly, the $387 that you've been paying the Best Buy on. Now, what a lot of people will do is they'll take that $387 and they'll go buy something new and say, "Woo!" They'll go and rack up that debt again. But that's not what we're going to do. That's not what you're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to continue attacking these debts with the debt stacking strategy. All right? On the Sears, we're going to move that 387 down. So now we add the 387 to the 50, and we're paying $437 a month, which gets us paid off completely in 8 months and save $160 of interest. But now in month 9, how much is freed up? You got it, $437. Move that down to the Visa where the old payment was $81. Now we're paying $518, pays us completely off of the Visa in 15 months. So in 1 year and 3 months, 1 year and 3 months later, you've already knocked out 3 different credit cards. Now we move that and you saved over $400 in interest. Okay, so in month 16, we move that down to the Discover card. In month 22, we move that down to the Toyota. In month 27, we move that down to the GMAC. In month 30, we move that down to the MasterCard. Now, 33 months later, right, almost 3 years later, we move that entire $1,500 down to the $1,220 that we were already paying, which brings our entire monthly spending, the actual payment that we've been paying all along. We take that entire $2,720 and we're knocking that all on the mortgage. We're just paying that off, which pays our entire mortgage off in in a total of 9.5 years. So we took the minimum payments of $2,361. We took the additional principal of $359. We stacked it in a way that kind of grew and grew and grew and grew until the whole amount of the $2,720 was taking care of our mortgage, got us completely out of debt in 9.5 years, and saved you over $90,000 of interest. How would you feel if that was your number? If that was your situation? If we replaced all of those numbers with your numbers and you got a result like that, how would you feel? You'd feel pretty good if you're honest with yourself. Right? I mean, if you think about it this way, before you were going to be debt-free in 24 years. Let's say you're an average couple with a couple kids at 35 years old. If you're a ripe age of 35 years old and 24 years later you get out of debt, how old are you? 59. And I'm sure that you know that most people would like to retire between 60 and 65. So with 1 to 6 years available to save up, right? If the number one reason people don't save is they have too much debt, and they don't get out of debt until age 59, and so they start saving for retirement at age 59. They have 1 to 6 years to build a retirement. Even with all of this money freed up, do you think that they're going to have much of a chance to retire? No, not at all. But conversely, if they got out of debt in 9.5 years, now they're 44. Or now you're 44, or your brother and sister are 44. Now you're 44. You're completely 100% debt free. The cars, and house. Cars, and house. Right? You have an additional $2,720 in your pocket every single month that you don't have to send out anymore. Not to mention $90,000 in your bank account that wouldn't have been there had you taken so long to get out of debt, right? Now you have 21 years to save up for your retirement. Do you think you have better odds at getting a solid retirement in 21 years than you would between 1 and 6? Oops, sorry about that. Absolutely you would. right? Absolutely you would. I'm going to, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to share with you a way that you can find out how to get an accountability program set up so that this can be possible for you, and also receive $1 million of identity theft insurance. So if that is going to interest you in any way whatsoever, I hope that you will stay on this webinar until the end. And well, anyway, I hope you've gotten a lot of value this far. But let's find out what kind of retirement you could get if you got debt-free at age 44, like this example shows. Right? We're going to talk about planning ahead. If it was you in the previous example at age 35, 9.5 years later, you're 21 years away from an age 65 retirement. Right? $2,000 a month. If you started putting the $2,000 a month into savings and the additional $720 back in your pocket, if you gave yourself a $720 per month raise just to do stuff with your family, or to, put aside to somewhere else or use on something else, or maybe buy a nice little item every month, and you put the remainder of the $2,000 into savings, okay? If you make 0% interest and just put the $2,000 a month in a shoebox somewhere, you're going to get $504,000, an extra $500,000 for your retirement. Is that significant? I hope so. I mean, $500,000 is nice, but let's check this out. What if you got 3% interest? 3% interest would get you $708,000, almost $709,000, $750,000, just about. But maybe it doesn't stop there. It doesn't have to stop there, not at all, because there are ways to get higher than 3% interest. 6% interest would get you over $1 million in that 21 years. And if you could get 9% interest, you'd be at $1.5 million. I don't think I really have to ask which one of these you would like to be your situation, right? And if you would like to learn more about any of these, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that at the end of this webinar, so stay tuned. But this could be, any one of these can be your situation. Can be your situation. Now, obviously, taxes, fees, and stuff like that have not been factored into some of these numbers, so not all of them are exactly where you would be. And of course, this is no guarantee whatsoever that this is the amount that you'd be at, because nobody can guarantee that. But if you don't do anything with it, and if you don't put a plan like this into effect, you do have a guarantee that none of this would ever be a possibility for you, would never be a possibility for your family. And I dare say that if I had a chance to make $1.5 million for my retirement, that I would much rather have that than be in debt until I was 60 years old and spend $160,000 of just interest to people that I don't even know, people that I don't even care about, and who don't know me and who don't care about me. All they care about is getting their paycheck. I would rather give that $160,000, take it, turn it into $1.5 million, and give it to the people I love and I know and I care about, my family, my kids, myself. Take a nice trip for myself every now and then, right? And $1.5 million might sound like a lot to you right now, because if you had $1.5 million, you'd have a lot of money. $1.5 million is a lot of money for sure. That is not to be discounted. But to be honest, $1.5 million doesn't really give you an incredible retirement lifestyle. In fact, I'm going to see if I can actually really quickly pull up a calculation here that would tell me exactly how much that would give you per year. Bear with me. I'm sorry I didn't have this pulled up. I actually did not think about about doing this. Yeah, here it is. Okay, I have a calculator that will tell me what $1.5 million would be in retirement. Okay, so if I type in calculate savings amount, beginning balance, we do 1,484,960.12. Okay. Annual rate of return. Ending balance 0. Number of years. If we're 65, and let's say we live an average lifespan of 85, that's 20 years, $1.5 million would give you about $10,000 a month of lifestyle, okay? Which is a significant amount, don't get me wrong. That is a good amount, but if you add inflation and cost of living expenses and all that kind of stuff, you're probably living more around the $70,000 to $80,000 a year lifestyle, okay? Which is a good retirement lifestyle, that's comfortable, right? But that's what 1.5 million gives you. And if 1.5 million gives you about a $70,000 to $80,000 lifestyle, what do you think only 500,000 is going to give you? Not a lot, a ton less. It's not going to give you a lot at all. Okay? So that's something to consider when deciding how to plan for your future and what you're going to attempt. If you're going to risk it one way or another, I would rather risk it where I can win big and not risk it where I know I'm going to lose big. Okay? So what is next? Right, you're probably sitting there wondering, okay, I have a lot of information. Maybe I completely blew your mind, and you're just kind of a little bit overwhelmed and maybe a little bit tired because we have been here for a little bit. But what happens now? Well, first of all, I really hope and pray that you got a lot of value out of this. I hope this served you. I hope this kind of opened up your eyes and maybe gave you a new way of thinking towards getting out of debt. Maybe you actually are starting to play with the idea of having a little bit of hope of getting out of debt. Maybe you're wondering kind of what your plan can be and what your plan is going to look like and what your numbers are going to look like when they get worked out. Okay. The first thing, if you got value out of this, if this served you, if this helped you, if this was interesting for you, if you think that if you got something out of this that you didn't have before, whether it be new information or a new perspective on things, or if you just enjoyed being here and just kind of hearing about, a second opinion if you've already had an opinion of your own, or maybe even reinforced some of the things that you're already doing in your life, then I would ask you to like and share this. There's a like button below. There's a bunch of share options below. Also leave a comment. Ask me a question. Let me know how I did. Bring up some different stuff. Give me some love down there at the bottom, at the leave a reply section, and do that for me. Secondly, get a coach. I cannot stress that enough. Get a coach. Because if you have a coach, you're going to be able to have somebody side by side who can cheer you on, who can really believe in you, who can future pace you, who can say, yeah, but I know it hurts now, but think about what it's going to be like when you actually make it. How worth it is it going to be to be able to sit there and look back and say, God, I'm so glad I did that. It was so worth it to be able to give my family something that really matters. Right? Because all the money in the world doesn't matter if you don't have awesome relationships to share it with. So even if you just got out of debt and that was the only goal you hit, think about the freedom and the stress-free lifestyle that you're going to be able to have, not owing your paychecks to somebody else before you even get them. Get a coach. They can help keep you accountable. They can build you up. If you don't know where to find a coach and you don't know who could be a good one, if you don't know somebody who you could ask them for financial advice and who's kind of been there before, come and contact me. Click on the contact form. There's a menu button at the top of the screen on the right hand side of your screen. Just move your mouse over that, click on it, click on the contact form, set an appointment to talk on the phone with me live. Where I'm gonna ask you some questions, get to know you a little bit. There's some questions on the contact form that you can fill out. I'm gonna give you some direction If it's appropriate, we'll schedule an appointment to meet in person and maybe even put your plan together. And at the end of the phone call, I'm actually going to let you ask me questions, some personal questions, or about how I started this, or why I'm doing what I'm doing, or maybe it's relevant to this webinar. Maybe you have some clarification issues that you would like me to do. I'll give you time to ask me those questions, and I'll give you some of that feedback as well. I would love to help you. Maybe I can get, if I'm not available, I can definitely get somebody else on our Fortune Maker team to be able to help you out with that. I would be more than honored to help you and work side by side with you on accomplishing all of your financial goals and dreams. Click the contact form, like I said, set up an appointment, and get your game plan together. Right? Even if you don't have a coach right now, even if I'm not necessarily going to be your coach, which, let's be honest, if you click the contact form, we set up an appointment and put a plan together for you, which will work and get you out of debt as soon as possible and save you the most amount of interest. I guarantee that. If you do that with us, I promise you that I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to help you out. You're going to be able to have access to this website, which is just a bunch of free content, a bunch of free value, and this is open to you. And you'll also get all of my updates. And I can actually, when we type up the plan, if every year we wanted to update the plan, we can totally do that, and we'll make sure that you stay current on all your goals and stay up to date. Finally, who do you know that might need to hear what you heard? Who do you know that might know somebody that needs to hear what you heard? You've seen the stats. You know that more than half of anybody in America has an emergency and doesn't have an emergency fund. You know that the average debt per household is around $200,000. Who do you think would like to know what it feels like to have a lifestyle where they were completely out of debt? Where they were free, where they didn't have to worry about the stress, where they didn't have to crunch numbers to pay the bills, where they didn't have to do, all of these different things. What if they could just be alive and feel alive? Because when you're in debt, you don't feel alive. Refer those people. Refer those people to watch this video, this webinar. Use the short link below to share this video. Send it to them in an email. Send it to them in a text. Tell them that, to watch it, to get the value. Tell them where they can come to get the PDF download. Make sure that they know when the next webinar is going to be able to go up. Make sure that they know, that they plug in. Make sure that they click the contact form and set up an appointment to get their game plan together. Make sure they get a coach. Make sure that they have access to everything you have access to, so that you can be an instrumental part of getting their life where they want it ultimately, where they love. Imagine how you would feel about them if they were here and they introduced you to this, and we came and worked with you and got you out of debt and made sure that your future was provided for. How would you feel about, not only about the program and not only about us and our team, but how would you feel about that person that referred you? You'd be so thankful, and they're going to be thankful for you too, especially because there's no gotchas, there's no gimmicks, there's nothing that's not authentic here. Okay? I really want to help you, and I want to help them, and I want to help you help others. Okay? So help us help others so we can help you help others so that we can help them. Anyway, refer others to watch this webinar. Share the short link below. I hope that you've got an immense amount of value for this, and I hope that it made sense to you, because I truly do want you to own it. I want this to be you. I want this to be how you feel about life, how you feel about your approach to life. This has been a comprehensive webinar for living a debt-free life. My name is Jordan Wilkins, head coach of the Fortune Maker team and author of The Fortune Maker. Please keep an eye out for the book. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here and to talk to you about this and to share these concepts with you. I hope that it helped you. I hope that it served you. I hope that I see your name show up on the contact form. I would love to be able to work with you. I'd love to be able to help you, and I'd love to be able to provide, to help you provide an incredible financial future for your family and help you own it. Own your life, own your future, own your results, and be happy, be proud, be confident, be excited. I'll see you next time. This is Jordan Wilkins. Take care.